Hi, welcome back, and without wasting any time, let's learn how kidneys are made during intrauterine life. I would take you through different stages of development of renal system and at what time they normally develop. Before we go into too much detail, let's discuss some facts about renal system development. Roughly, it starts developing around 4 weeks, and it derives from 3 primitive germ layers: mesoderm, ectoderm, and endoderm, kidneys, ureters, and bladder and urethra. All these structures develop from urogenital ridge. I will explain that in a minute, that how it is actually made during embryonic life. Urogenital ridge is made when condensation occurs in the intermediate mesoderm, and a structure is produced which runs parallel to the future vertebral column, and it has a part called nephrogenic cord, which is responsible for most of the development of renal system in early life. So nephrogenic cord makes 3 structures called pronephros, mesonephros, and metanephros. The pronephros actually appears by 4 weeks, and it has a duct and some tubular structures attached to it, which are called nephrotomes. It doesn't produce any urine, and it degenerates by the end of the 4th week. Before the pronephros completely disappears, the next stage begins, which is mesonephros. It also has a long duct which is called mesonephric duct, and mesonephric tubules which grow and result into a C-shaped structure with some capillaries inside, and this structure is called Bowman's capsule. And as you can see, that blood runs through this structure and urine is made, which goes down the mesonephric duct and meets cloaca, which is the terminal end of the primitive digestive system. So for the time being, both systems have same exit, and this structure continues to function as a primitive renal system till the 10th week. Now, on the other hand, the 3rd stage, metanephros, it also begins somewhere around 5th week, and it is being developed on the background while mesonephros is doing its job. And the whole concept is that this structure should be ready by the end of 10th week so that they could take over as a fully functional kidney. So intermediate mesoderm gives rise to a structure called metanephric blastema. This structure has a tendency to release some growth hormones or chemicals that result in the production of a small ureteric bud, which in turn releases the similar chemicals to induce further growth of this blastema. This process is called reciprocal induction, where both structures support each other and result in the growth of the other structure, and eventually you can see that both structures, they increase in size, and we can see that ureteric stalk lengthens and it becomes ureter around week 6. Now, as the time passes, these 2 structures, they meet in the middle, and then the ureteric bud, it starts dividing into renal pelvis, major calyces, minor calyces, and millions of collecting tubules are made. If you look closely at these collecting tubes, you can see that it has a tube and there is a surrounding mesonephric tissue. By the end of the 8th week, this mesonephric tissue starts increasing in length, and it gives rise to the further structure like distal convoluted tubules, loop of Henle, proximal tubules, Bowman's capsule, and glomerulus. So that's how nephrons are made, which are the functional unit of the kidney. So around 10th week, these nephrons, they start producing urine, and they are ready to take over as a fully functional kidney. And then lastly, the most important part is the ascent. So far, both kidneys are supplied by common iliac arteries, and when they start ascending, these arteries, they regress in size, and kidneys, they start taking their blood supply through renal arteries, which are coming from aorta. So let's quickly go through what's happening on the other end. So as I mentioned, that all these developments are happening simultaneously. On the other end, you can see that a urorectal septum is made, and all these structures are going through some sort of changes in the embryonic life to make the ultimate structures. You can see there are three things that happened. Urorectal septum, it has divided cloaca into anterior urogenital sinus and anal canal. And you can also see that ureteric stalk was actually progressing towards urogenital sinus, and then it fused with it. And there are three parts of urogenital sinus. Superior one becomes urinary bladder, middle part becomes urethra in female, and prostate and male urethra in male, and then inferior part makes other parts of the genital system. And these are the steps that are taking place on the distal end of those primitive structures. So I know it's a lot to take in, so just a summary: we have intermediate mesoderm that condenses and makes urogenital ridge. That has a part called nephrogenic cord, which is responsible for the further development, and it happens in three stages: pronephros, mesonephros, and metanephros. And we have already explained what are those, and this process is taking place between 4th to 10th week. Finally, they ascent up and take their normal position. Renal embryology is very important because most of the congenital anomalies are easy to understand if you have a better knowledge of renal embryology. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.